Now, what you've caught tonight is a free mini class. I've been putting out 1 to 2 free mini classes per week since the quarantine hit. So it's called the Quarantine Series since the pandemic started. And Paul has been so kind to take all of the free mini classes and organize them. So if you go onto my YouTube channel here at Ask Ivy and you hit the playlist, you can see all the classes we've done. Tonight's free mini class is called Trust. So I want to break down for you guys today areas where you may be having trust issues, why they're there, and how to fix them. So I want to ask a couple things, and I want you guys to just sort of sit back and listen to this, okay? Do you literally trust no one, even if they've shown you in the past that they should earn your trust? Do you have trouble letting your guard down? Or are you the kind of person that trusts everybody? You're constantly getting yourself in trouble because you want to give people the benefit of the doubt. Or maybe after you see a red flag, a major warning, you decide to put on the rose-colored glasses and give them another chance, another opportunity. Or you don't want to admit it. And we're going to be breaking that down tonight. How about, do some of you find that when you're confronted with having to make a decision about your life, you immediately become hypersexual, or you turn to drinking, comfort eating, any kind of escapist or avoidant tendencies so that you don't have to make that decision? The pressure is too much for you. Some of you decide that you could trust somebody. I am going to move forward with this person. I'm going to give them an opportunity. I feel okay and comfortable with them. And then when you're in the relationship, you are constantly waiting for the other shoe to fall. You have a terrible foreboding. You keep demanding, pestering them for proof that they deserve your trust. That's another form of a trust issue. Let's talk about this one. Whenever you have to make a decision or your trust is being tested, do you overthink, excessively left brain logical, hyperlogical, and you can't just let it go? You're up at night, you're grinding your teeth, you're nervous, okay? It's like you're like a chihuahua. Every time a major decision has to be made or you have to rely on your own trust, does it literally send you into a downward spiral of anxiety and excessive logical thinking? You got to let it go. You don't know how to let it go. Do you maybe fall into this category? When it's time to make a decision or rely on your trust, do you feel so confused that your brain is literally foggy? You can't think about anything. You can barely function in your day-to-day. You may get so overwhelmed that you're having like headaches, or you just want to take to your bed. You're exhausted and you feel like you're done with everything. You may not even realize that the decision you had to make or the trust that you had to put into your decision is at the root of that issue. I want you to think about that. Maybe you fall into this category. You realize that someone is toxic. Someone has shown you that they intend you harm in some way. Or that a situation is not going anywhere. It's a bad situation. It's a toxic work environment. Or something of that variety. You have all the proof you need. You've seen the pattern. When you finally make that decision to do what's right for you, you're going to walk away. You're going to get to higher ground and do what's healthy for you. Do you find that shortly after you do that, you start to feel bad about your decision? You start to have anxiety or depression, and you become so guilt-ridden, so worried that something bad is going to happen to you that you actually backpedal and go back to that person, that toxic relationship, that abuse, okay? That ridiculous job that was never going to offer you any kind of promotion. Do you have trouble with follow-through? All All right, these are all just different areas. I could probably come up with a few more, but you get the gist of it, okay? If you're falling into any of these categories, you have an issue with trust. And it is affecting your ability to level up in your life, to become more balanced in your relationships and decisions. And we're going to break down why. So let's take a look at why it's happening and what the solutions are. I did three other free mini classes on this that you guys should watch because I won't have time to get in depth into all of these today. The first one, it's up on the playlist here on YouTube at Ask Ivy. The first one is called The Still Small Voice. The second one is Intuition versus Emotion. And what was the other one?
What are they hiding?
And the third one is called What Are They Hiding? How to See Past the Mask That People Put On. Okay. Now there's a theme with all of those classes. They all break down your intuition so that you can accurately understand what it's telling you. And this is where the issue comes from. So, what is happening when we're not trusting ourselves? We don't know the difference between our logic, our emotion, and our intuition. Now, when we don't know the difference between our logic, our emotion, and our intuition, we have issues trusting ourselves. Okay? So, you have to be able to decipher when to make a move. We have another free class called Divine Timing, When to Make a Move. Okay, that one will help too. You have to know when to make a move and how to make a move and how to stick to it and follow through. But you have to know that more important than following, it outranks emotion. It outranks logical thinking, is your intuition. When your gut instinct tells you, make this move, set a boundary, create this change, and do it now, you have to understand that your emotion is probably going to go the opposite way and that your logic may even go the opposite way. And if you start to feed your thinking, yeah, but it doesn't make sense. Yes, but it doesn't match the circumstances. Or you start to feed your emotion. Yeah, but I don't feel like breaking up with him. Yeah, but I don't feel secure enough financially to leave this job. Yeah, but. You take that right intuition and you just kind of make it crumble until it is at the bottom. And logic and intuition, or logic and emotion, have gone above it, and that rules over it. Okay, so intuition has always got to trump the other two. Keep it at the top. Now, how do we do this, right? So a bunch of you are going to be like, well, easier said than done. Okay, but here's the thing. Your intuition never lies. Energy never lies. And it is always the first thing that you get. It is the first answer. It is the first impression. When you stop in a situation and you say, what should I do? The first gut instinct that you have is never going to change. That's always going to stay the same. What doesn't stay the same is what you do with that information. It's you that gets in the way. So we have to tune out the logical and emotional and stick exclusively with that gut instinct. Once you learn how to do this, and you're doing it every day, you're doing it in all different kinds of situations, you have a ton of practice with it, it becomes easier and easier to just follow until eventually you just go with that and you don't even pay attention. You don't need proof of everything. You don't need to feel it emotionally. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable for a while. Now, another way that we can be more trusting in following our intuition is by knowing that anything that was done wrong to us in the past is going to be righted in your favor, double for your trouble. You could say, trust God. You could say, trust the universe. You could say, trust that the ancestors have your back. Some of you may be more comfortable trusting with law of attraction, or we could say karma. It's all the same thing. There is order to this chaos. There is a method to the madness, and it does break down to universal law. God is part of that. The universe is part of that. Astrology is part of that. Numerology is part of that. Your psychic ability, your gut instinct, your intuition that everybody has. Everyone is a psychic or you'd be dead. Everyone is part of that system and no one can escape it. That means if someone did you harm in the past, you can know that you will be protected from that in the future by trusting in the universe if you abide by the rules. That means that you have to take that experience and you have to learn from it. You have to apply it to do better in the future in protecting yourself. And you can trust that karma is going to be delivered. So it should help you to feel more at ease that it did have a purpose and that there is payout. Here's the other issue. We start deciding to wall everybody out and stop trusting when we feel that it is up to us to get vengeance. It is up to us to deliver that karma. We have a certain level of responsibility in regards to those that have hurt us or are in the process of attacking us. And it is not always up to you to do. There's a certain amount of work you're supposed to put into it, a certain amount of battle you need to show up for, and the rest is on the universe. And you need to have a let go, let God attitude. We did another class here called Stay in Your Lane. That class will help you to understand how to set proper boundaries and not take the weight of the world on. So you need to trust that there is something bigger, that there is an order to everything. That involves karma, and that involves helping you to protect yourself in the future. Everything is of use. Every trauma we've been through is of use. And if we learn the lesson and we apply it to our self-healing, we will also be more empowered to help others, which is always the ultimate goal. Now, this leads me into the third area I want to talk about, and that is that those of us who are abused, who are neglected, who are marginalized, if you've ever been in a toxic relationship that has been abusive for you, we automatically become more intuitive. The real light workers of the world are not those that are getting certified and traveling out to Hawaii and, taking one class after another, and they've kind of got a smattering of everything in the healing arts up on their website. Maybe they are. That's awesome. But the real light workers I have found are the abused, the downtrodden, the disrespected, those that have been kicked around their entire lives. Because you automatically, as a trauma response, develop intuitively. You also have more watchful eyes on you from the universe that are protecting you. So we're talking about angels, we're talking about guides, we're talking about ancestors, we're talking about saints. Eyes are on you. Your life, if you have been abused, neglected, kicked around, you are automatically going to find that you have more intuitive abilities and probably more trust issues than the average person who's having a lovely time. This is sort of a double-edged sword, obviously, right? And I can speak for myself. I'm incredibly intuitive, I believe, because of the abuse I suffered as a child, because of the neglect that I suffered, being on my own at 14 out on the streets, watching people in my inner circle suffer. I became more intuitive, but I became very untrusting as well because I saw the darkness in people. I knew that most adults weren't to be trusted. I saw how the systems that I was being told were good were flawed or toxic or downright dark. and deliberately attacking people. I knew all of this. Now, if you are really intuitive, in order to protect yourself, and you are also distrusting from a series of prior traumas, when you're confronted with an issue of trust, or you have to make a big decision, you need to make sure you are not having a trauma response. You need to come from that place of intuition, not trauma reaction. And so for those of us that have gone through a system of abuse or neglect, it can be more complicated for you, but you're just going to have to work with it more than the average person. All right, I want to talk about not being able to build trust, that there is a myth, okay? And this is sort of the second part of this class. Paul, what questions or comments do we have coming in here?
We have a couple of good comments. Jill said she almost missed it, but her face started tingling and reminded her that it was time to tune in. And and Bernadette said she's lived by what Anne Frank said, that in spite of everything, I still believe people are basically good. She said, I live by that, trusting and believing in the best of people. Turns out that has come to bite me. I trust too much.
Yes.
And she also put that your story must be difficult to tell, and thank you for telling it.
Okay, very good. Well, yes, thank you. So, yeah, I believe that my story and all of the things that I went through, I now know that it was for me to be in a position to help other people to heal. I, of course, had no idea of that at the time, and I spent many, many years being distrustful and feeling as though I was cheated, or being angry, or, wanting answers, or wanting to get justice myself. And then one day surrendered to the reality of the situation, that life is uncomfortable, that it creates opportunities for growth. And if you apply that growth to your own healing, you can eventually heal others. And not anything I've ever gone through has not at this point in my life converted into some type of curriculum that is helping others. And I think we all need to just remember that the more suffering we've had, the more purpose we have here to help the rest of the world heal. We can't lose sight of that, even though it's going to continuously be robbed from us if we let it, okay? We can't stay in that dark space forever. I want to talk about kind of playing off of what one of the viewers just said here a second ago. I was always told to believe the best in people. I have always decided to believe that people are ultimately good. And that has come to bite me in the rear end, she said. Who said that?
Bernadette.
Oh, Bernadette. Okay, yeah. Love it. And so I just, that's the next part of the curriculum. Okay, Bernadette is always on the same page here. I want to explain this. Trust is not something that can really be built. Trust is either there the minute you meet a person, or it is not. What can be built is deception, comfort, manipulation in time, you wanting to negate what you're really seeing and feeling, you wanting to put on those rose-colored glasses, you wanting to forgive. All of that can be built, but trust cannot be built. Trust is either there or it is not. Now, if it is there in the beginning of an encounter with someone, it can be reinforced. Trust can build and get greater and bring healing. But what we need to learn to do upon meeting every person or entering any situation that's major in your life is to pull your energy back, be an observer, and analyze what it is that you're feeling energetically. I don't care what someone looks like. I don't care how hot he is. I don't care how beautiful and acrylic and fit she is. I don't care how tempting the boss made that offer at that new job. I don't care what people are saying or even what they're doing. The only thing I ever care about when I encounter someone new or I enter into a new situation or I'm invited to go somewhere is how that energetically reads. And if I get a or something's wrong, I look at that. I psychically go in and I ask my guides to show me, my higher mind to show me what it is that I need to know. And I guarantee it will be there as information for you to use. Now, we have to be realistic that because we tend to like rush in. I think of that song, Fools Rush In. Isn't that Elvis? Right? You just shouldn't. We've been told, like Bernadette said, believe in the best in people. Well, that's going to get you ran over. We are not here to believe in the best. We should be here to believe in the truth. And when I look at most people, they're not living authentically. So when you are ready to deal with someone and you have decided that it energetically feels right, it is authentic, it is truthful, it is honest, it is safe as people can be, and we need to be realistic about that. There isn't anyone on the planet who isn't going to hurt you. You aren't perfect either. You hurt others. There's a reasonable level of hurt. There's a reasonable level of being human and malfunctioning. But if someone is deliberately going out to cause harm to others, you will energetically pick up on that. And you need to take responsibility for any other time in your life when you knew it and you decided to rush in like a fool regardless. This will strengthen you. This will help you to convert that negativity into positivity. It'll help you to heal, and it'll help you to steer others in the right direction. Hopefully they will listen. A couple other key things that can happen. You get something called physical impressions. We tend to overlook these. Physical impressions in your body that are intuitive, they are energetic warnings, are going to come typically in the upper part of the body here. So if you start to communicate with someone and you have heart palpitations or an anxiety attack, that could be a warning. Maybe it's not your anxiety disorder. Maybe it's this person. Maybe you live with someone who's doing harm to you behind your back all the time and you don't even know it and you think you have an anxiety disorder. An anxiety attack or heart palpitations are a natural physical reaction. You could say a psychic or energetic reaction to someone else meaning you harm. Their toxicity against you. Another common physical reaction is a bizarre twitching of the left eye. A lot of people will think, well, I didn't sleep right, or maybe I have I'm stressed out or something. I don't know. A lot of people go to the doctor and the doctor can't figure it out either. Nothing works. When your left eye is twitching, it is a warning that someone in your circle intends you harm. Here's a great example. I was teaching my psychic mediumship students, and we had a volunteer who was coming in for the free readings. She showed up early. And so I said, get a coffee, have a seat, and, listen to the curriculum. We'll be ready in like 20 minutes. So she sits down, and I am talking about the left eye twitching that day and physical warnings. And I hear her gasp. She's like, oh, and I said, do you have this? I said, did something happen to you? And she said, oh my God, my new sister-in-law just stole $180,000 from the family business, and my left eye was twitching for 3 weeks. We knew it was a bad marriage. We knew we shouldn't let her and my brother get involved with the family business. We knew it. She wiped them out, and their business was shutting down. It's not always necessarily that big, but it also depends on how quickly you can catch it, because people that are allowed to run rampant may take it further. So it's a physical warning. Again, trust that there is a system here. Trust that you can protect yourself. Okay. We may also see a weird ringing in the right ear, like a tinnitus or a feeling of pressure, or like you have a seashell. Some people will feel almost like a pulsating over the right ear, or like a pressing down. If you try to lay down at night, it could almost feel like someone has a hand and is shoving your head down. The right ear ringing is a warning. So the grandmothers used to say about the ear ringing, left for love, right for spite, and that was fairly accurate. It's not necessarily spite. It could be, but it's more of a heads up that you need to check your people, check your circumstances, dot your I's, cross your T's, be preventative. Another physical reaction. This is the last one I'm going to give today. Okay, we'll get on to more of these classes later. But the last one for today is pain in the lower back. Can mean that there is communication against you behind your back. Communication problems. Or a burning at the back of the neck up into the head. People say, well, is that my ears? Is that when my ears get hot? It could be pretty much the same thing. But a lot of people get it almost like you would feel as though you were injected with something into your muscles that literally sets your neck on fire. Okay, pay attention to these things. Pay attention to who just reached out to you on social media or who is about to cross your path. What is going on? Check the circumstances. The warnings are always visible. Okay, you're not going to get a physical warning and then not be able to find the truth. That's not how the universe works, but you have to look for it. All right, these are not things to ignore. I want to say, too, a big issue that we have here with trust is that no one teaches us right. This isn't discussed in school. How many of your parents talked about this? How many parents are narcissistic or abusive? If we look out at society, how is narcissism become such a rampant problem? Because no one talks about trust. No one talks about self-protection. No one talks about intuition. We're taught to be overly giving, overly accepting, that it's ungodly or it's a sin not to do so. It's ridiculous and it's out of control. Okay, so know that you were probably taught wrong, if taught at all, on how to handle other people, boundary settings, navigate your own intuition, and trust properly. And I want to say this, is sometimes you feel that you don't like someone and you don't know why, or you feel weird about a situation. You feel like you don't want to go, you don't want it as part of your life, and you really don't understand why. So you categorize it as an annoyance. But in actuality, there could be something that's hidden from you that's quite toxic to either yourself personally or your goals, your agenda. And I think it's really important that we pay attention to more subtle feelings that are just a little bit off, because there is always something there that needs to be cultivated and brought to the surface. Does it always mean that you're going to run in the other direction, that you're not going to deal with that person, that you're not going to go into that situation at all? Not necessarily. But you should definitely know what it's going to look like if you do go in. And if there is something that's going to happen, you should be prepared on how to handle it. And you should know timeline. You should know when it's going to happen. And you can get all of these answers simply by going inward and asking your psychic ability to show you. This is not hard. This is not complicated. You're doing it all the time. Again, everybody is psychic. If you're alive on planet Earth, you're using your psychic ability every day. This is just acknowledging it and doing it more intentionally and undoing all the nonsense that you've been shown to do that gets you into trouble all the time. For those of you that suffer from the trauma that I spoke of earlier, neglect, abuse, trauma, toxic relationship with a sociopath or a narcissist, you've been marginalized in society, whatever it is, racial injustice, whatever it is, you're a female, I mean, look, okay, all of this. Again, for you, this will be harder, but you must remember that you have more support out there in the universe than you realize. Tap in with your ancestors. Do the work. Do the healing. Help others. Bring ancestral healing to your line, to your tribe. Know that therapy is a great thing. But in therapy, or even with meds, while these things can be very helpful, that's not going to be enough. You still have to learn how to function going into the future to protect yourself. And know that every time you feed this intuition, trust in the universe, trust in yourself, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Okay? So let's not forget that we have a bigger purpose here. That is ultimately to master this and go out and heal the world around us. I just feel like we're in a place right now where we need to bust people who are being inauthentic, and it's everywhere, and it's looking crazier and crazier all the time. And we need to be bold in saying, not today, Satan, it's not coming in here. That toxicity does not need to be in my space and in my life. And that is not only okay to do, it's an absolute must that you do it. And I hope to God the future generations here are going to be stronger in that and bolder in that. And I see that happening already. Paul, we have questions or comments?
Yeah. We have one from Jamila who says, I feel like my trust issues came from my older cousins growing up. I have trust issues with everyone, but my sister's trust issues bothers mine, if that makes sense. How can I help someone with more trust issues than me?
Well, first of all, you have to figure out whether or not your sister is accurate. And so we don't want to pass judgment. We don't want to say, oh, wow, you're really paranoid. And then be like, she needs help. I don't want to get sucked into her level of toxicity. Because what if she's right? So the first thing you want to do with your sister is to say nothing to her. You could do this all on your own. Just observe your sister now and start to keep a little journal. Treat her like a science experiment, okay? Because we learn from each other. You can't learn this stuff in a vacuum. You can't. So you want to pay attention to what she's doing and how she's doing it and with what she's doing it with. Is it certain people? Is it certain situations? And then I want you to think back on other incidents where you have observed her and her trust issues. And I want you to put those down in the journal as well, answering a couple key things. Who did she do this with, or in what situation? What did she say about it, or how did she feel about it? And then ultimately, look at the outcome. Was she accurate, or is she way off base? Until you can really do that, you don't know whether or not you can learn something from her. And she maybe isn't doing it 100% right, but she's pretty much spot on. Or if she maybe needs like therapy and, more healing to go on a deeper level, and she's not ready to maybe accept these things just yet. She may also be uneducated on these things. Most people are. That's why I'm doing the class. I think then after that, you need to keep that same journal and pull back, almost detached from your own self. Try to keep emotion out of it. Try not to overthink it. But look at a situation that's going on in your life right now, or something that has happened to the past, and write the same information down. With who, how did it feel, what did you think, and how did you handle it? And then ultimately, is that accurate? Was it accurate? Look at your past at different times when you were feeling as though you were second guessing yourself. You just weren't sure, or you were positive and you did take action. Look at all of those examples and figure out what is working and what is not working. I think that too often we become eager to help others. We become eager to heal others. We become eager to teach others before we've even learned it ourselves. And so you can't help anyone else until you've perfected it in here first. So to do a little reflection. Once you've done that and you can confidently set an example for her, she will learn through your example. This isn't necessarily something you can really convince other people to do. They have to be willing. They have to be ready to do the work. Okay. However, I do also want to say this. If you feel that she's off base, really negative and toxic in her distrust, and is constantly spewing that out, almost like a paranoid conspiracy theorist type person, that's a certain energy, that's a certain vibe that is exhausting and draining. You are going to have to set boundaries there. So there is no way around that. Okay. So be realistic. Try to keep emotion out of it. Treat it like a science experiment. That's a great question. I think, what was her name?
That was Jamila.
Jamila. I think everybody can learn from Jamila. That's a great part of the curriculum. I think everyone can learn from Jamila's question, because you could do this with people. You could do this with situations. And we always have a past history where we can go back and look and journal out what happened. Okay. So you should see obvious patterns. Okay.
So Rochelle says for her, it's the opposite. She says, I can't trust my angels and the positive messages I am getting regarding my lack of trust in a new relationship. Everything says it's going to be okay, but I can't believe it.
Well, you feel like you can't trust your angels because you've decided not to. Again, you're following your feelings. We have to be more steady-minded. So part of developing integrity, part of developing good character, is deciding to show up for something, making sure that the word that you give others is solid, making sure that you can represent from a moral and ethical place, that your name is solid. And it's no different with trust. It's no different with your intuition. You have to show up. You have to show up. Your angels can only give you so much help. Your intuition can only tell you so many times that things are okay and that relationship is something you're supposed to explore. If you keep allowing for your emotion or your excessively logical left brain thinking to get involved and trump your intuition, then you're stuck, because the only one who can help you with this is you. No one is coming to rescue you. And I think we often put relationships up on such a pedestal that we think of it like the end all be all. We cannot level jump in love. I have another class up on the website, okay, called Reaching the One. Paul, can you put that in the comments?
Yes.
So when people are having issues in love, they say, where's the one? When will I meet the one? What does it mean? Reaching the One class will break this down for you. And we break down trust issues, because we often see a relationship as the end all be all. And we feel that if we are going to trust someone, they have to be the one that will not hurt us, and they will fulfill our agenda, and it has meaning and purpose to it. But we can't level jump in relationships with others. Many relationships that we are meant to be involved in come with lessons. Some of them come with karmic contracts. Some of them come with somewhat almost a devastating feel. It can really rock your world. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to be there. So it's very possible that what your intuition is telling you, what your angels are telling you, is that this is a relationship you're supposed to be exploring. I would not ever recommend, though, that you 100% let your guard down with anybody. And this is for everyone listening to this tonight. I don't let my guard down with Paul. I don't let my guard down with myself. I don't let my guard down with any other human being, because we are all just energy. We are wide open vessels. We channel all the time. And if we aren't mindful, we could be channeling negative and toxic energy, or we could be channeling uplifting positive energy from the light. Most people aren't mindful. And because the human experience is such a trial all the time, I'm prone to it. Paul's prone to it. Everyone I know is prone to it. We can easily go and turn toward darker energy, or not even realize that it's channeling through us. We have a responsibility to own our energy at all times and stay connected to that light and vibe high. But because of the condition of the human experience, and because of the reality of us just being energy, it isn't the wisest thing to ever completely let your guard down with anyone. You can trust only so much, but I wouldn't give that trust to anyone but God, to anyone but my ancestors, to anyone but my guides. I'm not all in with any human being ever. That's not healthy. It's not realistic. We all go through hard times and we can all be susceptible to the dark. Okay? And you may think, oh, well, that won't happen to me. Well, you never know. I mean, you could get in a horrible car accident or something and be in pain and have back issues, and then you're on these meds and it makes you susceptible. Anything could happen. A million things can happen. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean that you mean to hurt anybody. But when humans are in pain, they hurt others. And it's a part of life. So be realistic. Be more down to earth about your expectations with other people, especially in love. Yeah? Do we have any other questions or comments?
Yeah.
Okay.
Caitlin says, I lack boundaries and therefore don't trust myself, and I'm not sure how to fix that.
Well, that's what we just talked about today. So just go back and listen to this, once it's published. Listen to it more carefully and do the exercises and watch the other free mini class we put up about 2 weeks ago called Stay in Your Lane. That's about boundary setting. People who don't have a healthy sense of boundaries, we talk about this in that Stay in Your Lane class, can also be prone to things like victimization, victim mentality, martyrdom, things like this. You're always being taken advantage of. And what really happens is that you are sort of a flashing light, like a moth to the flame will come the narcissists and the sociopaths. So as narcs and sociopaths are drawn to you, it sort of beats you down further and further. You attract, through law of attraction, people who want to take advantage of that good-heartedness, let's say. And then your ability to trust your own gut instinct, it just gets more and more difficult and complicated. Again, earlier in the curriculum here, I pointed out twice, those who have been abused, those who are more intuitive, those who are having a harder time with this, and how practice will make perfect. But you have to be willing to do the hard work and incorporate it into your life. I also want to say this, and this is for everybody. A lot of people are like, okay, well, I tried it and it didn't work. Okay, well, now I'm just panicking again. Well, think of how many years old you are now and for how many decades you've been doing it wrong, and expect that you're going to have to do the hard work repeatedly to compensate for that error. Okay, it takes time to develop healthy habits with eating, with weight loss, with anything. Okay, and this is no different. Give it the time. Yeah.
Jill says that she's working on follow-through. I know I need to leave a situation and then back out because I'm convinced it would hurt someone, and I never thought about it as a trust issue.
Right. And that's why I think Spirit wanted me to do this class, because we don't realize how many areas we have trust issues in. We just think, well, maybe it's hard to make a decision, or it's hard to have follow-through, or I'm kind of double-minded. It's a trust issue. It may be a trust issue with yourself. It may be a trust issue with the universe or God, but there is definitely something going on if there is inconsistency in your life. Yeah.
Silly Rabbit asks, how can you tell the difference between listening to your intuition and just being too idealistic with your expectations?
How can you tell the difference between listening to your intuition or being idealistic with your expectations? Because your intuition doesn't lie. So if your intuition says that someone is not good for you, that's not you being idealistic, right? Especially if you like that person. They got nice chiseled features, okay? Maybe they got some nice money in the bank. They traveled to Italy. You want to go, whatever. That's not being idealistic. If your gut is telling you that this is bad for you, you have no proof of that. You emotionally want it. Your flesh wants it. Logically, you want it. Okay, that doesn't really add up that way. So what you're going to notice about your intuition is that it is sometimes the polar opposite of what you want. That's not being idealistic. Okay, idealistic is probably your emotion overrunning your decision.
That's why I have nice round features.
You do not have nice round feet.
Beveled.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
My Italian boy.
We have some really good comments. This was a lot for everyone's taking this really well.
Oh, good.
Jamie says that this has blown my mind. I don't feel so crazy right now.
Good.
Jill said, another amazing class. Thank you, Ivy.
Oh.
And Linda says that she has come to realize that her brain is the saboteur a lot of the time. Her gut is the truth sayer. The knots in her stomach, the feeling that she can't breathe, that's the truth, and now she rolls with that.
Okay.
And Bernadette says that it occurs to her that trust requires courage in spite of whatever fear or other emotion dominates. This is a really good class. I learned so much.
Trust requires courage. I could not have said that any better myself. Like, even trying to come up with a curriculum and trying to be organized. I so love how spirit just works through people, right? So, trust requires courage. Who said that?
That was Bernadette. And it makes
Of course
sense
it is.
because she was going through and picking out your quotes that would make great t-shirts. And then I told her she was hired and she came out with that gem.
I love this so much. And trust requiring courage is really all you guys, I think, need to know. And hopefully when you, if you use that as a mantra, okay, write it on a Post-it, keep it on your hand so you can keep checking back when you're going through a difficult time, like making a big decision or dealing with a trust issue. Hopefully it will trigger the other things you've learned here in class. And automatically, because intuition is such a natural, innate, rooted thing, you don't have to know it or overthink it. It's just going to be there. It will just be shown to you how to proceed forward. And you just have to be brave enough to apply it and have good follow through. I love that so much. All right. Well, thanks everybody for donations. Hopefully we get some new members here. Feel free to hit that join button if you want to get behind the scenes extras, extra curriculum, messages directly for you, things like that. But I do want to say also thank you to our members, Bernadette Ruoff, Jill Marie, Chicken Mama, Carrie Watson, Vanessa Dempsey, Gloria Augusto, Angelica Pilar, Candace Kempton, Lori Filan, Jamie Joe, the Pisces Goddess, Cheryl Gottman, Michelle Kiska, Mary Hodgson, something like that. Heather, Amy Nicole, Amanda Heber, and Katie Vagaviello. I do want to say, too, thank you for everyone who's been following me on TikTok. We were invited to some type of influencer status the other day, and so TikTok is blowing up. We hope to see you guys over there where I do short, really informative videos down to like a minute. And also, thank you to everyone who's been subscribing here on YouTube. We have hit 2,000 subscribers, and we're going to be doing a special celebration show here soon. What is our next free mini class?
Our next free mini class is Pain, which is on Sunday the 29th at 9 p.m.
Okay, Sunday the 29th at 9 p.m. I will see you guys back here for Pain. Before that, we have the Ask Ivy show on Monday at 8:30, where I take your questions. Your weekly horoscopes are now up. Pain is going to be focused on a lot of what we talked about tonight, but how to get through it, how to, with dignity and healing and positivity, carry your pain, how to alleviate pain using intuition and the powers of the universe around you that may have been overlooked. And we're also going to discuss those who have committed suicide, myths surrounding that, and what else could be going on, with pain and sometimes even paranormal activity, how we can get rid of it or learn to better manage it. So I hope to see you guys for that as well. Thanks so much. Thank you, Polly.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Spirit. Have a good night.